The year 1478 arrived with a chilling quiet in Florence, but beneath the surface, a war of wealth and status raged silently. This battle was not fought with swords, but with threads of silk, gold, and vibrant dyes. The Medici family, undisputed masters of the city, understood that true power was not just held, but displayed. They draped their lives, their homes, and their very existence in textiles so breathtakingly opulent they could ignite envy across all of Europe. These were not mere clothes or decorations. They were solid statements of influence, spun from unimaginable cost and endless labor, whispered secrets of trade routes, and the dazzling glow of pure, unadulterated luxury. Number 1. Embroidered textiles. The delicate dance of needle and thread transformed even the most magnificent fabrics into works of art that bordered on the divine. Embroidered textiles in Medici Florence were not simply decorative additions. They were powerful statements of wealth, piety, and artistic patronage. This intricate craft elevated the already expensive silks, velvets, and damasks to an entirely new level of luxury. The process of embroidery involved a skilled artisan, often referred to as an ornatista or ricomatore, meticulously stitching designs onto a base cloth. This was not a quick endeavor. Days, weeks, sometimes even months, were dedicated to a single piece, depending on its size and the complexity of its design. The threads themselves were frequently as precious as the base fabric. Fine silk threads, spun to an almost unimaginable fineness, shimmered with natural luster, but the true extravagance often came from the inclusion of metallic threads. Thin strips of pure gold or silver were wrapped tightly around a silk core, creating a thread that caught and reflected light with dazzling intensity. Pearls, precious stones like garnets and sapphires, and even tiny beads of coral were often incorporated into the designs, transforming the textile into a jewel-encrusted tableau. The designs themselves could be incredibly complex, often drawing inspiration from contemporary painting and sculpture. It was not uncommon for renowned artists such as Antonio del Pogliolo or Sandro Botticelli to create preliminary sketches or cartoons specifically for embroiderers. These designs would then be meticulously transferred onto the fabric, serving as a guide for the needleworkers. This collaboration between painter and embroiderer elevated the craft from mere decoration to a recognized form of artistic expression, a testament to its value and the skill required. The Medici family, with their insatiable appetite for beauty and their understanding of visual power, were significant patrons of this art. Their inventories reveal countless embroidered garments, household items, and ecclesiastical vestments. For example, the detailed accounts from the Medici household show expenses for lavishly embroidered bed hangings, cushions, and table covers that adorned their private chambers and public reception rooms. These items were not just for show, they contributed to the overall sensory experience of their palatial residences, signaling wealth and sophistication to every visitor. Church vestments presented perhaps the most spectacular examples of embroidered textiles. Priests and bishops, wearing vestments adorned with shimmering gold thread and intricate biblical scenes during religious ceremonies, provided a visual spectacle that underscored the church's authority and the patron's devotion. The famous palliato, or altar frontal, for the baptistery of San Giovanni in Florence, commissioned by the Calamala Guild, stands as a prime example of such ecclesiastical embroidery, a testament to the collective wealth and artistic ambition of the Florentine community. While not directly commissioned by the Medici, its existence demonstrates the high esteem in which such detailed needlework was held in Florence during their era. It was an enduring work of art, a narrative woven in thread, showcasing scenes from the life of St. John the Baptist with an almost sculptural quality. The cost of embroidered textiles was prohibitive, placing them firmly in the realm of the ultra-wealthy. The expense arose from several factors: the cost of the base fabric, the preciousness of the threads and embellishments, and the sheer number of hours of skilled labor. A single garment, such as a ceremonial robe, might take a team of embroiderers many months to complete, their wages adding significantly to the overall price. There are records from the era, such as those found in the archives of wealthy Florentine families, meticulously detail the expenditures for such items. These documents confirmed that an embroidered piece could easily cost more than a small house or a significant parcel of land. The social significance of embroidered textiles extended beyond mere display. They were often included in a woman's dowry, a testament to her family's status, and a crucial part of her contribution to the marital household. A bride's trousseau would typically include richly embroidered linens, garments, and accessories, which would then serve as family heirlooms passed down through generations. These pieces carried not just monetary value, but also sentimental and historical weight. They represented continuity, lineage, and a family's enduring prosperity. The sumptuary laws of Florence, which attempted to control extravagant displays of wealth, often specifically targeted embroidered items. These laws dictated who could wear what, how much gold thread could be used, and even the size of pearls allowed on garments. The very existence of such laws highlights the immense desire for and the powerful visual impact of embroidered textiles, proving they were a significant challenge to social order and an undeniable symbol of the elite. To possess a garment or a piece of furnishing covered in such intricate needlework was to declare one's place at the very pinnacle of Florentine society. The skill and artistry embedded in each stitch spoke volumes without uttering a single word. Number 2, tapestries. Monumental in size and breathtaking in their complexity, tapestries were the ultimate expression of luxury and artistic patronage in Medici Florence. These woven masterpieces were far more than mere wall coverings. They were portable art galleries, narrative storytelling devices, and powerful political statements, all rolled into one impossibly expensive textile. Creating a tapestry was an enormous undertaking, a multi-year project that demanded an army of skilled artisans and vast quantities of the finest materials. The primary materials used were high-quality wool and lustrous silk, often blended to achieve different textures and sheens. Fine details, shimmering highlights, and the most vibrant colors were almost always rendered in silk, while the broader areas and robust forms relied on wool. The process began not with the weavers, but with an artist. A master painter would create a full-scale cartoon or design for the tapestry. These cartoons were often elaborate, detailed paintings themselves, sometimes stretching tens of feet long. Artists like Bronzino or Pontormo, who worked for the Medici, were commissioned for such designs, ensuring the tapestries reflected the highest artistic standards of the time. Once the cartoon was complete, it was handed over to the master weavers. Unlike ordinary weaving, tapestry weaving was a slow, painstaking process performed on special vertical or horizontal looms. Each thread was individually inserted and woven by hand, creating the image stitch by stitch. This level of craftsmanship meant that a single large tapestry could take a team of several weavers many years to complete, their daily output measured in mere inches. The value inherent in this labor was immense, easily surpassing the cost of the raw materials themselves. The Medici family, always keen to project an image of unparalleled grandeur and cultural sophistication, became significant patrons of tapestry production. While Florence had its own tapestry workshops, often the most renowned and sought-after tapestries were commissioned from workshops in Flanders, particularly Brussels or Tournai. These workshops were legendary for their skill and the richness of their dyes. The Medici would send their Italian designs to these northern European centers, and the finished tapestries would then embark on a long and perilous journey back to Florence, a testament to the family's international reach and their willingness to invest in the very best. An example of this patronage includes the magnificent series of tapestries depicting the life of St. John the Baptist, or the story of Joseph, commissioned by Cosimo I de' Medici for the Palazzo Vecchio. These tapestries not only beautified the ducal residence, but also served as a visible representation of the Medici's spiritual and temporal authority. Tapestries served multiple functions within the grand palaces of the Medici. They provided practical insulation against the cold stone walls, making vast halls more comfortable. More importantly, they transformed barren spaces into vibrant narrative environments. A hall hung with tapestries became a room steeped in history, myth, or religious narrative, reflecting the intellectual and moral values of its owner. During important events, such as banquets, diplomatic receptions, or state visits, tapestries were frequently moved and rehung to create specific ceremonial backdrops. This portability meant that tapestries were also a form of liquid wealth. In times of crisis or financial need, they could be sold or pawned, much like jewels or precious metals, further highlighting their extreme value. The subject matter of Medici tapestries often reinforced their political messages. Historical events, mythological scenes, and family achievements were common themes. For instance, tapestries might depict Roman triumphs, allegories of good governance, or scenes from the Medici family's own history, subtly reinforcing their legitimate claim to power. The sheer scale and visual impact of these textiles were designed to overwhelm and impress visitors, leaving no doubt about the immense resources and refined taste of their patrons. Accounts from contemporary visitors often describe the awe inspired by the sight of these vast, shimmering hangings. Historians like Lisa Monis, in her studies on Renaissance textiles, detail the meticulous records kept by the Medici family regarding their tapestry collections, from their initial commission and shipping costs to their placement and periodic cleaning. This level of documentation underscores their status as prized possessions, carefully managed and preserved assets. Each thread woven into a tapestry represented not just a material cost, but hours of dedicated labor, an artistic vision, and a testament to the Medici's extraordinary power and ambition. They were silent yet thunderous declarations of dynastic glory. Number 3, cloth of gold and silver. Among the pantheon of luxurious textiles, cloth of gold and cloth of silver stood supreme, blindingly opulent and undeniably extravagant. These were not simply fabrics with gold or silver embroidery. These textiles were quite literally woven with precious metals, creating a dazzling, shimmering surface that proclaimed immense wealth and power without uttering a single word. The production of cloth of gold or silver was an incredibly specialized and laborious process. It began with the creation of the metallic thread itself. Goldsmiths and silversmiths would meticulously flatten pure gold or silver into incredibly thin strips, sometimes barely wider than a human hair. These delicate strips were then meticulously wound around a core thread of silk. This created a strong, yet flexible metallic yarn that could be woven on a loom. The skill required to produce such fine metallic threads was extraordinary, and the process was inherently wasteful, with significant amounts of precious metal lost during the flattening and winding stages. Once the metallic threads were ready, they were delivered to the master weavers. These weavers would then meticulously interlace the metallic threads with silk warps and wefts to create the final fabric. The density of the metallic threads could vary. Some cloths of gold were entirely composed of metallic threads on one side, creating a solid sheet of shimmering metal. Others had metallic threads woven into intricate patterns against a silk background, allowing for more detailed designs. The resulting fabric was remarkably heavy and stiff, yet possessed an unparalleled gleam. It reflected light with an intensity that ordinary silk or velvet could never match, making it an ideal choice for ceremonial garments and public displays of wealth. The Medici family, with their vast banking empire and insatiable desire to display their dominance, made liberal use of cloth of gold and silver. These fabrics were reserved for the most important occasions and the most significant individuals. The grand ducal robes, ceremonial vestments for the highest clergy, and garments worn during triumphal processions were often fashioned from these precious textiles. Cosimo, the first de' Medici, and his successors frequently commissioned garments of cloth of gold for their court, understanding that such attire projected an image of divine right and unquestionable authority. Imagine a procession through the streets of Florence with Medici family members and their closest allies clad in garments that literally glowed under the Italian sun. Such a sight would have instilled awe and respect in the populace. The cost of cloth of gold and silver was astronomical. The expense was not only due to the labor-intensive production process, but primarily because of the sheer quantity of pure gold or silver incorporated into the fabric. Contemporary records often valued these textiles by their weight, reflecting the precious metal content. A single robe made of cloth of gold could easily cost more than a significant piece of property or even a fleet of merchant ships. And accounts from the Medici archives show meticulous records of purchases of such fabrics, detailing the weight, the type of metal, and the workshop from which it originated. These textiles were so valuable that they were considered a form of portable wealth, often kept in secure chests within the family's private chambers. In times of extreme financial need, these fabrics could even be melted down to reclaim the precious metals, a testament to their enduring value. The social impact of cloth of gold and silver was profound. Wearing such a fabric was an undeniable declaration of supreme status. Sumptuary laws, which were pervasive in Renaissance Florence, often explicitly prohibited commoners or even lesser nobility from wearing garments made of cloth of gold or silver. These laws served to maintain a strict social hierarchy, ensuring that such dazzling displays of wealth remained exclusive to the ruling elite. When foreign dignitaries visited Florence, or when Florentine ambassadors traveled abroad, they were often outfitted in these precious fabrics to impress and convey the immense power and wealth of the Medici state. The sight of a Medici representative draped in shimmering gold fabric immediately communicated a message of untouchable grandeur and authority. The material was so valuable that it was often bequeathed in wills, passed down as family heirlooms, or repurposed into smaller, equally precious items. Every glint of gold or silver thread was a powerful whisper of power, a testament to the Medici's extraordinary grip on Florentine society and their mastery of both commerce and display. Number 4. Florentine scarlet wool. While silk and gold might conjure images of dazzling luxury, one of Florence's most enduring and significant contributions to the world of high-end textiles was its magnificent scarlet wool. This was not just any red wool, it was a deeply vibrant, almost impossibly rich red, achieved through a meticulously guarded and incredibly expensive dyeing process. Florentine scarlet was a symbol of immense wealth, judicial authority, and civic pride, recognized across Europe for its unparalleled quality and color fastness. The journey of Florentine scarlet began with the finest quality wool, often imported from England or Spain. This raw wool was then meticulously processed within Florence's powerful Arte della Lana, the Wool Guild. This guild was one of the wealthiest and most influential in the city, controlling every stage of wool production, from cleaning and carding to spinning and weaving. The Florentine wool industry was renowned for its skilled artisans and its innovative production methods, but the true secret lay in its dyeing. The key to the celebrated scarlet hue was a tiny insect, the cochineal. This insect, native to the Americas, was introduced to Europe after Columbus's voyages. Before cochineal, red dyes were often derived from kermes, another insect, but cochineal produced a far more intense and brilliant crimson. The cochineal insects were dried, crushed, and then painstakingly processed to extract their vibrant pigment. This dye was incredibly expensive, costing more than many precious spices, and its import was a significant enterprise, often handled by powerful merchant families. The dyeing process itself was a complex chemical dance, involving multiple mordants and a careful sequence of baths, often taking many days to achieve the desired deep, lustrous color. The secret formulas for Florentine scarlet were closely guarded by the master dyers, passed down through generations within certain workshops. The resulting fabric was not merely red. It was a scarlet that seemed to glow from within, holding its color brilliantly against fading, a mark of its superior quality. The Medici family and the Florentine elite embraced scarlet wool for its undeniable prestige. It was the color of judges' robes, official garments for high-ranking civic officials, and ceremonial cloaks for the most powerful members of the city. Wearing Florentine scarlet was an instant visual cue of authority, prosperity, and respectability. Accounts from the Florentine Republic often describe high-ranking members of the Signoria or government bodies clad in these striking red robes, signifying their esteemed position. The color was so symbolically charged that sumptuary laws often dictated who could wear it, restricting its use to those of a certain social standing or official capacity. This reinforced its status as a fabric for the elite, not for common consumption. Beyond its use in official attire, Florentine scarlet wool also found its way into luxurious household furnishings for the wealthy. The drapes, bed coverings, and cushions made from this vibrant wool added splashes of intense color and warmth to the stone interiors of Florentine palaces. These items were not just practical, they contributed to the visual grandeur and sensory experience of the Medici household. The economic impact of Florentine scarlet was immense. The production of this high-value textile brought considerable wealth into the city, supporting thousands of artisans and merchants. The reputation of Florentine wool, and particularly its scarlet, contributed significantly to Florence's standing as a leading economic and artistic center of the Renaissance. The wool industry was the engine of Florence's early prosperity, and the scarlet dye was its crowning jewel. Historians like Carlo M. Cipolla in his studies on medieval and Renaissance economies highlight the crucial role of the textile industry, and especially the luxury dyeing sector, in Florence's economic dominance. The continuous demand for this prized textile from courts and wealthy families across Europe ensured a steady flow of revenue into the city. Florentine scarlet was more than just a luxurious color. It was the very color of Florentine power and a testament to its ingenuity in trade, industry, and the pursuit of unparalleled quality. It painted the city's elite in an unforgettable hue of power. Number 5, damask. Damask, a textile known for its reversible patterns woven into the fabric itself, offered a sophisticated and understated form of luxury in Medici Florence. Unlike the overt opulence of brocade or cloth of gold, damask presented its beauty through subtle interplay of light and shadow, creating patterns that shimmered and appeared as one moved around them. This elegant textile was highly prized by the Florentine elite for its refined aesthetic and its testament to the skill of the weavers. The name Damask originates from Damascus, Syria, a city renowned for its textile production, particularly its patterned silks. While the technique had ancient origins, Florentine weavers, masters of silk production, adopted and perfected their own versions of damask weaving. The magic of damask lay in its unique weaving structure. It typically involved a single warp and weft system, but employed a combination of satin and sateen weaves to create the pattern. Satin weave produces a lustrous, smooth surface where warp threads float over multiple weft threads. The sateen weave is similar, but uses weft threads floating over warp threads. By strategically alternating these two weaves, the pattern emerged not through different colored threads, but through the way light reflected off the surface. One part of the pattern might be in satin weave, creating a smooth, shiny area, while the background would be in sateen weave, providing a slightly duller, more textured contrast. When the fabric was viewed from different angles or under varying light conditions, the pattern would appear to shift, creating a dynamic and captivating effect. Because the pattern was integral to the weave, damask was often reversible, with the pattern appearing in reverse on the opposite side, a testament to its structural integrity and design. Damask was almost exclusively made from silk in Florence, though wool and linen damasks also existed. The fine quality of Florentine silk threads was crucial for achieving the desired subtlety and sheen of the patterns. While less flashy than brocade, damask still required highly skilled weavers and specialized looms, making its production labor-intensive and therefore expensive. The designs often featured classical motifs, stylized pomegranates, delicate floral sprays, scrolling foliage, or intricate geometric patterns. These motifs were often symmetrical and repeated across the fabric, creating a sense of order and timeless elegance. The Medici family appreciated damask for its versatility and refined beauty. It was frequently used for high-quality garments, particularly for less ceremonial but still important occasions. Portraits from the period often show individuals in damask gowns, where the pattern subtly catches the light, signifying wealth and good taste without being overtly flashy. Damask was also extensively used in domestic settings. Accounts from the Palazzo Medici Riccardi and other noble Florentine residences show significant quantities of damask employed for luxurious bed hangings, tablecloths, napkins, and upholstery for chairs and benches. A banqueting table laid with pristine damask linens would have spoken volumes about the host's status and meticulous attention to detail. These items provided a sense of quiet grandeur within the private chambers of the elite, spaces where comfort met sophisticated aesthetics. The production of damask contributed to Florence's reputation as a leading center for luxury textiles. The Arte della Seta, the Silk Guild, oversaw the quality and innovation of damask production, ensuring that Florentine damasks were among the best in Europe. The economic impact was substantial, as the export of these high-value textiles brought significant revenue into the city. Scholars like Florence M. Montgomery, in her works on textiles, described the technical advancements made by Florentine weavers in mastering complex weaves like damask, contributing to the city's artistic and industrial prowess. The demand for Florentine damask from courts and wealthy households across Europe underscored its prestige and the city's skill. Damask embodied a more understated, yet equally powerful, form of luxury for the Medici and their peers. It was not about shouting one's wealth, but rather allowing it to whisper elegantly through the subtle play of light and shadow on exquisitely woven silk. Number 6. Brocade. Brocade was the undisputed king of patterned luxury textiles in Medici Florence, a fabric so rich and complex that it often looked as if it were woven with solid gold and jewels. This textile was a true masterpiece of the loom, proclaiming status and wealth with every shimmering, raised pattern. Unlike printed fabrics, the elaborate designs in brocade were woven directly into the cloth during its creation, making it an incredibly labor-intensive and costly endeavor. The essence of brocade lay in its weaving technique. It typically involved multiple sets of warp and weft threads. A primary set of warp and weft threads formed the ground fabric, which could be a plain weave, a satin, or a twill. Then, additional weft threads, often in different colors or made of precious metallic gold or silver, were introduced to create the intricate patterns. These supplementary weft threads were only brought to the surface where the design required them, creating a raised, almost embroidered effect that gave brocade its distinctive tactile quality and visual depth. The complexity of brocade weaving demanded highly skilled artisans and specialized looms, often jacquard looms, which allowed for the intricate control of individual threads required for such detailed patterns. The designs were not simple. They featured large, repeating motifs that could range from stylized pomegranates and thistles to classical floral arrangements, mythological figures, or heraldic symbols. These patterns were often grand in scale, requiring significant stretches of fabric to fully appreciate their beauty. The choice of design often held symbolic meaning, reflecting the owner's status, alliances, or aspirations. The material used for brocade was almost exclusively silk, given its inherent strength, luster, and ability to hold fine detail. The inclusion of metallic threads, particularly gold, was common, elevating the fabric to an even higher level of luxury. These gold threads, sometimes pure, sometimes wrapped around silk cores, caught the light with breathtaking brilliance, making brocade the ideal choice for ceremonial garments. The Medici family, always at the forefront of lavish display, were immense patrons of brocade. Their robes, court attire, and even furnishing in their palatial residences frequently featured this magnificent textile. Lorenzo the Magnificent, known for his refined taste and patronage of the arts, certainly possessed numerous garments of brocade. These were worn during state occasions, diplomatic receptions, and family celebrations designed to impress and underscore the Medici's unparalleled wealth and influence. Beyond clothing, brocade was used for wall hangings in reception rooms, creating an atmosphere of opulent grandeur. It also adorned ceremonial banners, church vestments, and even the coverings for important documents or furniture. Every piece of brocade in a Medici palace was a testament to their limitless resources and discerning aesthetic. The cost of brocade was astronomical. The expense stemmed from the high quality of silk, the inclusion of precious metallic threads, and most significantly, the incredible amount of labor and time involved in its production. A single bolt of brocade fabric could take weavers many months to complete, with each intricate pattern requiring meticulous attention. Records from the Medici archives show expenditures for brocade that often rivaled the cost of fine paintings or sculptures. These fabrics were considered investment pieces, valuable assets that could be passed down through generations or even repurposed for other uses. The demand for Florentine brocade was high across Europe, making it a lucrative export and a significant contributor to the city's economy. The Florentine arte della seta guarded its weaving techniques and designs closely, ensuring its reputation for producing some of the finest brocades in the world. Historians studying Renaissance material culture, such as Evelyn S. Welch, in her work on art and authority, often cite brocade as a prime example of how luxury textiles were used to project power and legitimize social standing in Florence. The visual impact of brocade was immediate and overwhelming, a clear statement of superior status and a tangible representation of the Medici's extraordinary dominion over Florentine society. Every thread told a story of power, woven directly into the very fabric of their world. Number 7, velvet. Velvet, in Medici Florence, represented the pinnacle of tactile luxury, a fabric so sumptuously soft and profoundly rich in color that it was almost synonymous with royalty and immense wealth. Unlike flat woven fabrics, velvet possessed a dense, raised pile, creating a plush surface that absorbed and reflected light in a uniquely captivating way. This texture made it exceptionally desirable for both grand garments and opulent interior decorations, positioning it as one of the most exclusive textiles of the era. The production of velvet was an incredibly complex and labor-intensive process, far more so than ordinary weaving. It required specialized looms and highly skilled artisans. The essence of velvet weaving involved creating a second set of warp threads, known as the pile warp, which were lifted over wires inserted horizontally across the loom. Once a row was woven, a sharp blade running along the wire would cut these loops, creating the characteristic upright pile. If the loops were left uncut, the fabric was known as velveteen or loop velvet, also luxurious but less common than cut velvet. The quality of the silk threads used for velvet was paramount. Only the finest, most lustrous silk could create the desired softness and sheen of the pile. The density of the pile also dictated the quality and cost. A denser pile meant more silk threads and more labor, resulting in a richer, more luxurious feel. Florentine weavers were masters of velvet production, renowned throughout Europe for their ability to create velvets of exceptional quality. They excelled in producing both plain velvets, admired for their intense, solid colors, and patterned velvets, where the pile was cut at different heights or even integrated with a brocade or damask ground. These patterned velvets, known as velvet brocade or figured velvet, showcased incredible artistry and technical prowess, featuring motifs like pomegranates, leaves, or heraldic symbols rendered in contrasting textures. The Medici family's palaces and their personal wardrobes were replete with velvet. It was the fabric of choice for ceremonial robes, formal cloaks, and impressive doublets worn by the Grand Dukes and their courtiers. The deep, rich colors achievable with velvet, especially intense reds, blues, and greens, made it particularly striking. These hues were often achieved using expensive natural dyes, such as cochineal for scarlet or indigo for deep blue, further increasing the fabric's value. For instance, detailed inventories of Cosimo, the first of Medici's possessions, often list numerous garments made of crimson velvet, underscoring his preference for this regal textile. The way velvet draped and flowed, catching the light with every movement, ensured that anyone clad in it commanded attention and conveyed an aura of undeniable authority. Beyond clothing, velvet played a crucial role in transforming the interiors of Medici residences into luxurious havens. It was extensively used for upholstery on chairs, benches, and grand bedsteads, creating a sense of unparalleled comfort and magnificence. Velvet hangings adorned walls, providing both insulation and a rich visual backdrop, making vast stone rooms feel more inviting and grand. Velvet cushions, often embroidered with gold thread, added layers of softness and opulence. These decorative uses of velvet were not merely aesthetic, they contributed to the overall sensory experience of wealth and power that the Medici cultivated within their private and public spaces. Every touch of velvet reaffirmed their status. The cost of velvet was extraordinarily high, a direct consequence of the complex weaving process, the vast quantities of high-quality silk required, and the meticulous dyeing. These factors positioned velvet as a luxury item, accessible only to the wealthiest elite. Accounts from Florentine merchants confirm that velvet was among the most expensive textiles traded in Europe. The Arte della Seda actively managed the quality and innovation of velvet production in Florence, ensuring that the city maintained its leading position in this specialized craft. The demand for Florentine velvet from European courts and wealthy families was constant, making it a significant source of revenue for the city and contributing to the Medici's broader economic success. Historians like Roberta Orsi Landini, in her research on Italian Renaissance textiles, described the technical sophistication of Florentine velvet weaving and its pervasive use among the ruling classes. Velvet was not just a beautiful fabric, it was a tactile declaration of power, a soft, silent assertion of the Medici's elevated place in the social hierarchy. Its rich texture and depth of color created an unforgettable impression of luxury and authority. Number 8. Silk. Silk was the undisputed queen of luxury textiles in Medici Florence, a shimmering thread of elegance that symbolized immense wealth, international trade, and unparalleled sophistication. It was not just a fabric, it was a cultural phenomenon deeply intertwined with the city's economic prosperity and the Medici family's ascent to power. While Florence did not produce raw silk on a large scale, it became one of Europe's foremost centers for processing, weaving, and dyeing this precious fiber, transforming raw material into exquisite finished goods. The journey of silk began thousands of miles away in China, where the secret of sericulture, the raising of silkworms, was meticulously guarded for centuries. By the time of the Renaissance, silkworm cultivation had spread westwards, reaching Italy, but high-quality raw silk was still largely imported from the Near East or parts of southern Italy. Florentine merchants, with their extensive trade networks, ensured a steady supply of this prized commodity. Once the raw silk arrived in Florence, it underwent a series of intricate transformations. The Florentine Arte della Seta, the Silk Guild, one of the most powerful and wealthy guilds in the city, oversaw every stage of this complex process. Raw silk was first carefully cleaned, degummed, and then wound onto spools. This prepared thread was then sent to skilled spinners and dyers. Florentine dyers were renowned for their ability to achieve a breathtaking array of colors, from vibrant reds and deep blues to rich greens and subtle golds, using expensive natural dyes often imported from distant lands. The dyeing process itself was a closely guarded secret, adding significant value to the silk. Finally, the dyed silk threads were handed over to master weavers who worked on sophisticated looms to create a dazzling variety of silk textiles, satins, taffetas, brocades, velvets, and damasks, each with its own unique characteristics and applications. The inherent qualities of silk made it incredibly desirable. Its natural luster, softness, strength, and ability to hold vibrant dyes made it superior to other fibers like wool or linen for luxury applications. Silk draped beautifully, moved gracefully, and had a tactile quality that spoke of luxury. For the Medici family, silk was fundamental to their display of power. Their garments were predominantly made of silk, from the everyday attire of the elite to the most elaborate ceremonial robes. Cosimo the Elder, Lorenzo the Magnificent, and the later Grand Dukes understood that the visual impact of their clothing was crucial in projecting an image of authority and refined taste. Portraits of the era often depict members of the Medici family and their courtiers in magnificent silk attire, showcasing the latest patterns and the most vibrant colors. Beyond clothing, silk transformed the interiors of Medici palaces. It was used for luxurious wall hangings, bed coverings, cushions, and table linens, creating an atmosphere of unparalleled splendor. Silk drapes filtered light beautifully, and silk upholstery added comfort and elegance to furniture. These decorative uses of silk contributed to the sensory richness of their residences, subtly reinforcing their wealth and sophistication to every visitor. The economic impact of silk production in Florence was immense. The industry employed thousands of artisans, from humble spinners to master weavers and dyers, providing significant employment and contributing enormously to the city's wealth. Florentine silks were exported across Europe, reaching royal courts, wealthy merchant families, and the highest echelons of society. The prestige of Florentine silk was further enhanced by sumptuary laws, which frequently attempted to regulate its use. These laws, though often ignored, highlighted the social significance of silk by specifying who could wear it, in what quantities, and with what patterns or colors. This attempt to control sartorial display underscored silk's role as a potent symbol of status and a visual marker of social hierarchy. Scholars like Carol Collier-Frick, in her extensive work on Florentine dress, detail the pervasive presence of silk in elite wardrobes and its role in defining social status. Silk was not merely a textile, it was an economic engine, an artistic medium, and a fundamental pillar of the Medici's visual language of power in Renaissance Florence. Every thread woven in Florence echoed the city's mastery of commerce, art, and the enduring allure of luxury.